It is a logical statement. So a logical statement that has a hypothesis and conclusion. We're going to do a lot of writing today, lots of writing of sentences. So if we look at the conditional statement below, if it is raining, then there are clouds in the sky. Which part is the hypothesis? Nick? Which part's the hypothesis?
It's not really a hypothesis, that's a fact. Raining?
Yes. If it's raining, the it is raining part is your hypothesis. So I'm thinking in my head, if it is raining, then I'm going to conclude there are clouds in the sky.
That's not really a hypothesis, that there is just a matter of fact.
All right, I'm not saying
there has to be clouds in the sky.
I'm not saying the hypothesis is just the part that is raining. The conclusion is that there's clouds in the sky. The whole thing is not a hypothesis. Hypothesis is just a part of the sentence. Okay, stop. We're done? Stop. Stop. All right, so if we look at the next statement, it says two angles are supplementary if they form a linear pair. Well, what does supplementary mean again? Two angles that add up to 180 degrees. What does a linear pair mean? Linear pair means two angles that make a straight line, right? Which means they have to be supplementary. So if I were to put this in an if-then statement, we could say if two angles form a linear pair, then what? Right. Pair, then they are supplementary. And sometimes you got to play around with the words just to make it sound correct.
Oh, that's not good.
What?
You went off the paper.
That's okay.
Somehow. How do you go off the paper?
It's all right. It's fine. Okay, so that's writing an if-then statement. So if I say, all dogs drink water, what would that be as an if-then statement? All dogs drink water. If it's a dog, then it drinks water, right? If I say that I get 100% on my tests because I studied, what would be an if-then statement?
If I study, then I'll get 100%.
Right, if I study, then I got 100% on my test.
Well, if I got 100%, then...
Well, we're not there yet. We're not at counterexamples yet. So, when you have a statement, you need to sometimes come up with a counterexample. Now, we talked about counterexamples yesterday, or Wednesday, but now we're going to talk about them specifically with conditional statements. So, if I'm talking about finding a counterexample when I have a conditional statement in front of me, I'm looking for an example.
Oh, no. Why are my pens breaking?
I don't know. I'm writing too hard. That proves that the hypothesis is true, but the conclusion is false. Okay, so an example proves that the hypothesis is true, but the conclusion is false. So if I said, if I play basketball, then I am over 6 feet tall. What will be a counterexample to that? Dominic,
Like high school basketball teams.
be more specific.
High school basketball teams, not all the kids are 6 feet tall.
Well, we need an actual example. Bryce?
That is an actual example.
Bryce? Yeah, Bryce would be a counterexample. He plays basketball and he's not over 6 feet tall, right?
I don't know anyone like that.
Okay. So you're coming up with a counterexample. So let's make it into a math one. If the product of two numbers is even, then the two numbers must both be even.
That seems kind of true.
So we need to come up with a product of two numbers that is even.
Oh, I know.
Now this is a little bit different. And the two numbers must both be even. I think it was positive. Taylor.
I know how to disprove that.
3
Fine.
plus 1 is 4.
Product.
What?
Product. Multiply.
Mm.
How about 3 times 4?
Yeah.
3 times 4 is 12. Is that product even? Yes. Are both the numbers even?
No.
No. So that would be a counter example. Okay? All right, so you and your group are going. We have talked about conditional statements. We've talked about how to write them in if-then form. We've talked about finding counter examples for them. So now what we're going to look at is different ways to write conditional statements, which gets us to the converse. When you are asked to write the converse of a conditional statement, you are going to switch the hypothesis and the conclusion. So the converse is when the hypothesis and conclusion are switched. So you're literally going to take the part that's at the conclusion and put it as the hypothesis, take the part that's the hypothesis and put it as the conclusion. You will have to do some wordsmithing to make sure that the sentence makes sense, instead of just physically putting them in one place and then the other. All right, so if a person plays a guitar, then they are a musician. What would be the converse? What's the conclusion of this statement? So let's put that as the hypothesis. So if a person is a musician, then what? Then they play the guitar.
Not
Okay, Dominic, we're not there yet.
What's a converse?
I will get it to you when we get through all of this if you missed it. You weren't paying attention. All right, so let's think about this. First statement. If a person plays a guitar, then they are a musician. Is that true or false?
True.
Let's say it's true. They might not be a good musician, but they're making music. If we think about a musician's definition as someone who plays music. Okay, they might not be good, but they're playing music, hopefully, when they're playing the guitar. Is the converse true? If a person is a musician, then they play the guitar. What would be a counterexample?
Someone who plays the piano.
Someone plays the piano. Someone plays the drums. Someone plays the recorder. Okay.
That's not a
Theremin.
That is
Someone could play a theremin.
So,
what?
if it is,
A theremin.
okay, Dominic, you're done talking. Done talking. So we said it's false. Write down your counterexample. We just said a bunch of them. You write what counterexample you like the best. So, if I'm finding a converse of a statement, I am looking to see whether it is true or false. So let's just, this isn't on your paper. What's the definition for a pentagon? So if a figure is a pentagon, then it has 5 sides. What would be the converse of that?
If a figure has 5 sides, then it's a pentagon.
Good. If a figure has 5 sides, then it is a pentagon. Is the first statement that I wrote true?
Yes.
Yes. Is the second statement that I wrote true?
Yeah.
Yes. So when you have an original conditional statement and its converse that are true, you can write something that is called a biconditional statement. And your biconditional statement occurs when the conditional statement and its converse are both true. And below that, I want you to put in quotes the words if and only if. So we create biconditional statements by eliminating the if and the then words and putting the word if and only if in the middle of our hypothesis and our conclusion. So if we look at the last example, and I deleted some things, that's why yours doesn't match up quite with mine, but we can look here. We know that these are both true. So because the conditional and its converse are true, we can write a biconditional statement. And to do that, all I have to do is take away the if. All I have to do is take away the then and put in the words if and only if. So a figure is a pentagon if and only if it has 5 sides. Would it work if I had it the other way? A figure has 5 sides if and only if it's a pentagon. Does it work both ways? Which one makes more sense? The first one. Start with the actual term of pentagon and then go there. So let's go ahead and write that down. So write the biconditional statement about pentagons. A figure is a pentagon if and only if it has 5 sides. So can you write an if and only if statement using the definition of a triangle? We'll take out the first if. Well, you said if a figure is a triangle. So a figure is a triangle if and only if it has 3 sides. How about a statement about perpendicular lines? What do we know about perpendicular lines? They intersect at what type of angle? Perpendicular lines intersect at a right angle, right? A 90-degree angle. The lines are perpendicular if and only if they intersect at a 90-degree angle. Could I make a biconditional statement for our guitar player example? Could I say a musician or a person is a musician if and only if they play the guitar? No, that won't work. All right. So, can we